Hey, composing gloves here, and today we're going to be talking about hemiolas. What is a hemiola? Well, hemiolas, when you get two rhythms, they're not friends. They don't hang out on Tuesday and get spicy tuna rolls. They just don't do that. But you send them an invite to the same event on Facebook, and they both show up, and it turns out they can be friends. So I know that's sort of a weird way of saying it, but basically you have two rhythms that are just different. They just don't line up, and like except for maybe in one or two spots. And you put them together to see what comes out. And that's a hemiola, essentially. There's lots of different kinds of hemiolas, but let me just show you. So here I've got something that's just pulsing quarter notes. Pretty simple. Here I've got quarter note triplets. Cool, right? Well, what happens when you put these things together? And the reason it's confusing is because, look at this. They line up on beat 1, but they don't on beat 2 or on beat 3 or on beat 4, but they line up again on beat 1. So it's like, are they friends? I don't know. They have a freaking weird relationship. They like get together and then they break up for 3 beats and then they get back together on beat 1. It's like, what do you do? We all know people like that. They're hemiolas. That's what they are. So let's go ahead and play it and see what it sounds like. Now I've put emphasis on beat 1, but well, let's just play it. Listen real quick. It's kind of weird. And if you take your time, try listening to like one versus the other. You can like switch back and forth. They do need to be going kind of fast for this to work. You have to be able to hear both the figures, sort of. If you hear like something that sounds like one really slow rhythm, like if we were to go down to like, I don't know, like 46 beats per minute. It doesn't sound like a hemiola anymore. So we are going to stick to the 130. So you see, speed, sort of, tempo is an important deal here. Now I've put, so go ahead and listen, just as you're listening, listen to the top one, listen to the bottom one, I guess. Interesting, right? So now we ask our question, where should we place the emphasis? Well, this is your job as a composer. You get to decide that. But technically, this is a rhythm where the beat would fall on 1, right? This is a rhythm where the beat would also fall on 1. So we put it on 1. Typically, but you could get very creative and change things. Now, a famous piece where they start off with a hemiola is called the Fantasia Impromptu by Chopin. It's a super cool piece. Any piano player who really was serious about the piano, who hears it, is determined to learn it pretty much because it is really cool. I tried learning it. I got pretty okay at it, but it starts off with a hemiola. It's one of the great challenges of that piece, but it's really cool. So you might go look up that piece, check it out for an example of a really awesome hemiola in an actual piece of music. These things are used in all sorts of pieces of music, but that just happens to be one of my favorite ones. Now, let's come over here. Now it's time to go up to the next level, right? And you might be asking yourself, well, what if we did like 5 against 4? Like we had 5 notes and we have 4 notes up here or whatever. You could totally do that. You could do, 7 against 6. They're just things that don't line up. They're not friends. They don't hang out, except for when you invite them together to get spicy tuna rolls, because that's secretly they're like the thing they both love. They love beat 1. So that's something else that you'll notice about these things is they have to start at the same time. So if they do that, the beat 1 will line up. All right, now unless you want to get into really weird sort of figures that cross over like bar lines and stuff, and that's like it gets strange. Now let's look at doing the next level. So the next level is we still have quarter note triplets, but now we've got some chord progressions. I was looking at this level, the 8th note one. But here, just tossing a chord progression, right? So we've got it on one chord. Let's do multiple chords. So that's kind of a cool deal. You can sort of see it in action. Next up, let's go ahead and add in the next level. So we have a chord progression still, but now let's make these guys 8th notes and these ones still quarter note triplets. So now in the space of 3, we have 8. It's that easy. Pretty cool, right? I'll play one more time. Awesome. So now next level, we can't settle with that. So now what do? Instead of quarter note triplets, we use 16th note triplets. You might be going, whoa, 16th note triplets. How are these 16th notes? Why not 8th notes? Well, because when I was writing this, I did 16th notes. I'm sorry. Remember, this is the space of 4, right? And this is the space of 3. So these are 16th note triplets. And so we have 12 of these versus 16. We're missing 4. Okay, and these of course are still 8th notes. So now we've essentially, this is a pretty cool sort of, I picture like a waterfall or something. And that is the wonderful world of Hemiolas. You can do other weird stuff, as I said. You just need 2 things that don't get along, and then you just decide to just, hey, let's see what happens when we put them together. You notice I only bothered really with meter on this one. You could bother with meter here. Something else that it'll also naturally enhance a meter because there's only one spot where they really line up. All the other spots are sort of up. Now you'll notice here that these will line up on every beat, because the figure restarts on the beat. But you could get something that it doesn't do that. You could make up some sort of a thing where it never lines up metrically until like beat. You could go over 2 measures with this thing, right? You could get into weird larger figures and stuff like that. But I am not about to deal with that. Mostly it's just a difference of the size of the note. If you were to speed it up, you could fit it in 1 measure. So it is a thing. If you have any questions, let me know. This is a pretty cool thing. If you make a track with the Hemiola in it, drop it in the comments. It'd be kind of cool to see your Hemiola usage. Subscribe, support me on Patreon, and have a blessed day. Watch out!